Hello everybody, I'm Tim Blair, and it's time for the Clay County Times-Democrat Weekly Web Update for the week of November 20th, 2013. Our weekly web updates are brought to you here on cctimesdemocrat.com by the good folks of Piggott State Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender, and serving the region since back in 1930. Well, we come to you today, actually, it is around 12:30 p.m. on Friday, November 22nd, a time and a date that basically lives in American history is the time when the 35th President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was shot in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. We have reached that milestone, that time, 50 years ago, almost to the minute, and I'm here to answer the question, where were you when you heard that President Kennedy had been shot and killed? And basically I was right here on top of what I call Grade School Hill in Piggott, Arkansas at the former Piggott Elementary School, and I'm very near where my first grade class was located, here on the south side of the campus, where I was in Miss Finley's class when the news came to us. Not something I remember real clearly as a 6-year-old at that time, but I do remember a teacher coming in, and I believe it was Miss Mary Gordon, with the bad news that the president had been shot. Also have very vivid memories of the memorial ceremony that we held. I believe it was the following Monday when all the students carried their chairs out into the courtyard, and we had the playing of taps over behind the lunchroom. The flag was lowered to half-staff at that time to begin on what I believe was a 30-day mourning period as the country mourned the loss of President Kennedy. And of course, we also know from history is that flagpole had only been dedicated back on the first day of November 1963. The flagpole was put up. A lot of folks pulled behind that effort to have that flagpole put up, and then Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts came out, and the ceremony was held on the first day of November to dedicate that flagpole. And then just a few weeks later, of course, it was a big part of the memorial held here to mark the death of President Kennedy. So that answers the question of where I was when President Kennedy was shot and killed, and that was about 50 years ago, almost to the moment as I record this. Of course, there have been a lot of discussions since then. It is still debated greatly about whether it was a conspiracy, whether Oswald acted alone, how the Mafia and LBJ and others, Castro, figured into it. In fact, I read somewhere that I believe over 1,400 books have been written on the subject, and the debate continues to this day. So a big part of American history, a big part of my generation's history, and we mark that here today on the webcast. Well, a lot more going on around the region. We encourage you to pick up a print edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat this week. We have all the details on the big shows coming up tonight and tomorrow night at the Piggott Gym, the middle gym at Piggott High School, where we'll have the road show coming up tonight, the Ultimate Oldies tomorrow night. Also details on the big craft show going on down at Rector, and details on that great contribution, the donation made by Piggott State Bank, where they have donated the money to the Piggott Library to purchase the property adjacent to the library. They're going to be planning on tearing down the house that's there and utilizing that lot. We have all the details there. Also have an update on the construction project involving the First National Bank, which is going up on the other side of town, and that will be opening on December the 9th. We have all the details in this week's print edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat. Now, speaking of the road show and Ultimate Oldies show coming to the middle gym at Piggott High School, they've all set up down at the high school for that. And in fact, it's a little bit warmer and drier down there, and let's go ahead and move on down there for the remainder of our webcast. From the wet and windy top of Schoolhouse Hill, or Grade School Hill, we make our move down here, and we are in the Piggott High School middle gym. Now, this is the gymnasium that was finished 49 years ago this year. Construction was pretty much underway at this point, and it was completed in time for the 64-65 season. So this building will be celebrating a 50th anniversary next year. As we also have noted in the past, it was also the first year in this new gym. Coach Sam Ward and his team made the basketball playoffs, so we'll have more details about that coming up as we reach that anniversary next year. But we're here at the middle gym. For many years, of course, this was the middle school. The building, the Leah Williams building that burned down in 1983 at the time was the middle school. This was the middle school gym, though we played our high school games here as well. So this has hosted a lot of events over the year. I remember coming here in elementary school. We actually had the 5th grade Christmas play was held here. We had a lot of the school plays, different shows, magic shows, all those great productions that were put on back in the day by the drama troupe, including South Pacific, Oklahoma, and those that were all staged on this stage right here in this old gym. And tonight, it'll be the site for a concert by the Rhodes Show. That's the first of a 2-night performance that will be going on, and tomorrow night they'll wrap it up with the Ultimate Oldies Show. Tickets are $15. They're good for either or. You can come for one event or you can come for both events for the same ticket, and the tickets are available from the Chamber of Commerce. They'll also be available at the door if you happen to be seeing this at a late time and would be interested in coming down and taking part in that. Of course, Craig Morris married into the Rhodes family, and he'll be performing here, and I'm sure that Craig has memories of this old gym as well, as he did attend Piggott schools up until he was up in about junior high, I believe, whenever he left here and moved to Paragould. But Craig and the others will be here for the Rhodes Show, and also will be performing at the Ultimate Oldies Show here tomorrow night. It's sponsored by the Piggott Area Chamber of Commerce with corporate sponsorship from Helena Chemical. And it's a great fundraiser for the Chamber, and we wish them the very best of luck with that. Well, and also coming up in this week's edition, and we talked about this week's edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat. We encourage you to pick up a print edition of all the details on the Clay County Quorum Court, setting the budget for next year and getting that taken care of. Also a feature on the new FFA advisor and agri teacher, Miss Gray, down at Rector. That's also can be found in this week's paper. A big write-up on the Rector Pee Wee celebration. They had a banquet to celebrate their Northeast Arkansas Youth Football League championship. We have the details on that, and a nice group shot of all the 6th graders as well. That can also be found in this week's edition of the paper. Now, coming up next week, we'll have a complete wrap-up, of course, on the concerts that are going on here. We'll also have details, a little retrospective on the anniversary of the shooting of President Kennedy, as we mentioned in the first segment, from up on the Grade School Hill. And we'll have details on that as well. And, of course, we'll have all the information on the early basketball season. Lady Cougars still undefeated, last I heard. The Mohawk boys senior team got a big win over Gosnell the other night over at the new gym, just adjacent to here. And we'll have all the details on that coming up in the next edition. That is the November 27th edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat. Now, also coming up in that edition, we will have a popular returning favorite, as we'll have our recipes for cooking a Thanksgiving turkey from preschoolers down at Rector and also from ABC in 1st grade here in Piggott. That can all be found in the upcoming edition. And also in the November 27th edition, we'll have our basketball tabloid, and that will feature previews of all of our regional teams, the Mohawks, the Cougars, boys, girls, juniors, senior, team photos, and all the details. And that can also be found in the next edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat. We also have a Crossroads magazine which will be coming out in the next week or so. We encourage you to keep your eye out for that. It'll be available absolutely free all around the region, and a great story in there on Kenneth Norrid. I think a lot of people realize what a great treasure he is for our community, and as far as the music goes. But we've got a story in there by Nancy Kemp on Larry Norrid, and we encourage you to pick up a copy of that. Also encourage you to pick up a copy of the Delta Voice. They're available on newsstands all up and down the region, from way down around Mark Tree and Truman, Arkansas, up to around Chaffee, Missouri, and all points in between. They're absolutely free. Pick up a copy, and you can find out how you can have a chance to possibly win $300 cash. And all you have to do is pick it up. They're absolutely free. And again, we encourage you to pick up a print edition of this week's paper. There are a lot of things that you can find in there that are not available either here on cctimesdemocrat.com or on the webcast. So we encourage you to pick up a copy of that and support the paper, and we appreciate it when you do. Well, with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of the Clay County Times-Democrat Weekly Web Update for the week of November 20th, 2013. For Clay County Times-Democrat and all the good folks at Piggott State Bank, I'm Tim Blair reporting.